This 6-minute video is a short story entitled An Age for Adoption, written and narrated by NRRATED. And it is dedicated to people who, for any reason, have problems reading written text. If you do not want to hear the narration, you can simply reduce the volume on your computer. An Age for Adoption, a short story by NRRATED. It was Monday, and she had been there since Friday evening. She just sat in front of the door and tried to slip through every time someone came in or out of the building. She did not move away from the door more than a few feet, and only if someone chased her away. The children of the family from Madrid were the first to crack. They gave her something to drink and something to eat. They wanted to bring her up to their apartment, but their parents decided that would be getting too committed. The family from Madrid had come only for the weekend, and when they drove away Sunday evening, she was still there waiting for someone to let her into the building. It was the month of March, and there were not many people in the hundreds of apartments along the Santa Pola beach, some 20 kilometers south of Alicante in Spain. Except for the retirees of a multitude of countries throughout Europe, there were not really many people to be seen in this city of 18,000, which grew to 300,000 from June to September. Monday morning, Luis Martinez stopped his pickup truck in the parking area in front of the building. Other than our van, Luis's pickup was the only vehicle in the parking area. From our balcony, where we were having breakfast, we could see Luis in his pickup. He looked at her. She was spread out in front of the main entrance to the building, as if she had been glued there. Luis smiled to himself. He knew her strategy only too well. She was of that race that crept into your territory until she succeeded in dominating you with tearful and supplicating eyes. She surrounded herself with her helplessness, and striving to waken the dormant compassion in everyone, she cuddled herself up in a ball and whimpered. Luis stepped down from his pickup truck and reached back to get his toolbox, upon which his wife had painted L.M. Plumber. He walked her to the entrance door. She was there, and she did not move. She watched him come closer, and for a fraction of a second, she thought he was going to kick her. Her instinct of self-preservation turned her head upward and away from him, and as she did, one of her overly long ears hung downward and dangled ridiculously in despair. Luis took her by the tail and dragged her away from the door. He entered and closed the door behind him. 3 hours later, Luis finished his work, and in coming out of the elevator on the ground floor, he almost stumbled over her. Someone had let her into the main hall. Luis looked at her. She was passive, sad, pitiful, and especially ridiculous, with legs too long for her body and a tail that arched vertically but did not wag. She must have not been more than 6 months old. He dragged her out of the building, loaded his toolbox onto the truck, and got ready to leave. She sat in front of the door looking at him, and just for a fleeting second she communicated to him. And if she could have smiled, she would have smiled, because she knew that he had received her message. When Luis drove away, she once again spread herself out in front of the door. When he returned home, Luis told his wife what had happened. They looked at each other and remembered a similar incident of years before. They had found a stray dog and had brought him home. He had stayed with them for over 10 years, and when he finally died, they vowed that they would never again get attached to an animal. Do you remember how he sat on the doorsteps? And do you remember when he ran away and was gone for several days? Louis, what you think? Should we? Louis wanted to say yes. He wanted to go back and pick up the silly dog, but both he and his wife hesitated. They were afraid that they were just too old to get adopted again. The end. This short story was first written in French, and I then translated it to English. If you would like to read or hear another of my short stories, just send an email to elkinshortstories@yahoo.com. About Raymond Elkin. Raymond Elkin was born and raised in Connecticut. He's been living in France for more than 50 years. He is bilingual in French and English and can communicate in Spanish. Raymond and his wife Simone live near Paris, have traveled throughout Europe, and spend their winters in a small port town on the Mediterranean Sea in Spain, near Alicante. He has written more than 150 poems in English and French, some 25 short stories, and has recently finished his 4th novel in English.